So another type of weaving is the circular weaving, and this is, I really wanted to get to this with at least my 4th and 5th graders this year. So this is a little more advanced, and of course I didn't have any materials like yarn, but I'm resourceful, so I happened to be looking for some wrapping paper for my grandson's birthday, which is today, 8 years old, and so I found some ribbon, and this will work just fine. So the first thing you want to do is mark off an odd number of spaces, and I have a China paper plate, which is more sturdy. You could actually take a cardboard box and trace a circle. You don't have to do something big like this, but you could fill the whole thing up and make a big circle if you wanted to. But cardboard, same thing. If you just trace a plate or something that's round, and then start placing. I just measure by eye and start counting how many lines, little slices that's going to be cut. And the key to a circular one is an odd number. So once I start going up here and I see, okay, here's where I started, and I've got this much space, let me figure out how I'm going to divide that space up so I end up with an odd amount. Even, it would just keep weaving the same way over and over, but an odd number will allow it to repeat differently. All right, so now to warp it, this might be a little bit of challenge to, I'm gonna take that and just put it through a slice. There's some Scotch tape here somewhere, just to tape it down. You don't really actually have to do that, but I do. All right, now you want to pull that over so it looks like it's about straight across. So you notice I didn't cut off any of the ribbon here. I'm just going. So I'm gonna pull it in a slice, come around the back side of it and go right next door to the next slice and cross it over to that one. And then I'm gonna come over here and come up next door to that one and cross and keep going around. So you see I'm taking the ribbon right around the back side. And this purple is coming along for the right. So I'm coming around, Try to pull tight, but not so tight that the plate is gonna warp on you. So I'm coming back, coming around and down, and then here's my last one. And now I'm gonna go right back into this one, okay, to one of the last ones. So that looks like it's 2. We're gonna treat this when we start to weave, we're gonna treat that as 1. All right, and now I'm going to turn that over and I'll tape that down. All right, and cut that off. And I'm done with warping. Okay, so I'm ready to weave. Okay, so we're warped up and we're ready to go. The first one is a little more hard. It's just a little more challenging to get in to start. So what you want to do is I'm going to go under these 2 because I'm going to remember that this is not 2 separate, because that would give me a even 18. This is counted as 1. So if I pull here and just I'm gonna pull it down to the middle, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it into a slice just to hold my place. So then you go, it was under, so now that's over. And I always, when I'm weaving on the round, I always make sure I'm always turning in the same direction. You don't want to weave some one way and then start going another way. Every now and again, give yourself a little pull. And I always try to weave out here because it's too confusing right up if you're getting too close to the center. So just keep turning and weaving. Once you get this first few in, now I was under, so now I'm over. So what I'll do now is take these 2 and pull tight, all right? And I'll go ahead and put that little guy back in there. And that was under first, so now that tells, because that's the 2. So I'm going over that one. And then as I go, it'll all just be tight. So the main thing is pulling that first one tight, and that's going to make all those warp strings come in tighter. And we're going to speed this up. So now you can see that now I could go ahead and tie on another color to this, and then just continue on. And then after it's all in there, you can cut the extra, or sometimes if you leave the extra pieces sticking out, if they're not bugging you, you can then go back and tie beads on them. I'm just going to probably cut that off later. So I've got to do some purple. The wider, the bigger you go, the colors will take more string to make a difference, because it's more space that they're taking up. So this is a challenge. Always be mindful that you're looking at the one you just did. So that was me. Hopefully I didn't mess up my pattern. Right, so far so good. Over. I need to go under here. So look below you and see that you're doing the opposite of the one that you just did. So you see this one's under, this one's over. Same thing for this. So this line, this row was under, this one's over, under, over. It's an A-B pattern. Now you do know this is a very, the most simple way. We're not professional weavers yet, but there are other patterns that you could do. All right, come on. See, now this ribbon is kind of bothering me. All right, pull that out, try again. So just be patient with it. But it's to me, after you get the hang of it, this is something you can do and have a conversation with people. You can sing while you're doing it, but you do have to keep your eyes focused on what you're doing, and always check your pattern every now and then. This little knot's being a problem here. I tied them together. Okay. So at any rate, we just keep going around and around, and then when you're done, you will go to the back side, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off. And I just took a regular paper plate and designed it with some symmetric radial, which means circular design that is balanced. I just went north, south, east, and west, and started putting in some designs in between. So that's a little math there for you, a little lesson in symmetry. So if you turn this over to the other side, just hit to the middle. And this is if we had finished it. Then you just very gently pull these out. And before I even pull them all out, I go ahead and I take two that are neighbors to each other. I think it's these two. And I tie them together in a double knot, triple knot, depends on what you have. And go all the way around, tying them two at a time. Now what I did, because the ribbon was so kind of in the way, I took a pair of scissors and curled it. And that's something that you can do with a gift wrapping technique, but maybe if somebody at your house knows how to do that, curl this little stuff. If you're using ribbon, you might have yarn. You might be lucky enough to have yarn. I kind of like the ribbon. It's got a shine to it. And yeah, I think, I made a little hanger here in case you didn't want to mat it down on something else. If you wanted to take a piece of fishing line and string it up, maybe made a bunch of these, you could hang them from your window or something. Another trick for you. Remember I said we wanted to make it so you didn't have to have any materials. So we're going to go outside and look for some materials to weave. So I want to just show you maybe some things you might see around your neighborhood or in your yard. And this would be a good option for taking some of those, cutting them. These already have some on the ground. You could use those for weaving. Here are these guys right here. This is the wild onions that we all probably know and smell when the grass gets cut. Right here, don't fool with those. Those are going to be irises that bloom in May, and they're too pretty to take the food from them from their leaves. So leave those alone. Look at all these little purple wild violets coming up in the yard. Another option that I have in my yard, and you look for whatever you have. I have lots of little things that I could use. These are where daffodils have finished blooming. So these are nice and pliable, and this would be a good option also. So go gather some things if you want, and if not, look in your house for some things that you could weave. All right, well, I came from outside to inside because I thought we could see this better. I decided to just remind you about the weaving process. I'm using the onion stalks as my warp, and I thought that for the weft, I would put in the daffodil lines. So if you remember, the pattern is pretty simple. Now there's many different types of patterns you can create. The more accomplished you are and the more you are at keeping track of those patterns. There's a tweed pattern. There's many different ones that are indigenous to a lot of different places that they use. So if you can see here, I'm already starting to lock things in place. What I do like to do is beat it together. I'm not hitting it. That's a weaving term. That means to just push your things together, your strings or your fibers. And actually, the word fiber just means something from plants, because aren't yarns and strings, they're made from plants. So a lot of the things that we use are fibrous. So these are definitely plants. So speed this up a little bit. Okay, so you remember this. It's not that hard, is it? It's just a pattern. That is one organic way to weave with natural things from the outside. I'll show you a couple more. Okay, back to the studio, and I couldn't leave without talking about baskets and weaving. So this beautiful Easter basket, of course, it's got the same principles. There's these bigger reeds going around that are your warp, and then the weft is over under, of course, and then different thicknesses of them that make them. Of course, these are very stiff. Reeds are very stiff. You have to soak them for a good while so they'll be pliable when you weave them. And baskets come in all shapes and sizes and different materials, so beautiful baskets. One more thing, in case you're motivated, if you have some branches in your yard, we just did top some crepe myrtle trees, so we had some nice branches, and I've seen this done. I've done smaller ones before with just a piece of a branch, but I'm gonna try a bigger tree that I can just put in the house, and some people spray paint them just to make sure no bugs are in them. But I warped it. I only had the ribbon here, so I warped it horizontally, and I'm weaving it going vertically this time. So all kinds of options that you can have for weaving. So have fun, continue to dance, sing, try to be the eye and kind, and I love you and I miss you. Happy Easter.